Hi guys, this is Kaede Kisaragi and today I begin a new stage for my channel. If you have been watching me, and if you haven't, click on the subscribe button and hit the bell for notifications. You'll notice that my videos are usually A. Reaction videos or B. Gameplay videos. But that isn't a big enough draw for my channel, and I have been wondering what could I possibly produce for my channel to help draw more viewers. That answer came to me just the other day. You see, I was commenting on a video about a certain subject matter that I happen to love, and I got a reply from someone saying, "Why don't you try doing your own video? You should." With that in mind, you might be wondering, what exactly was the subject matter of that video that I wanted to make a video about? Well, big, bad Beetleborgs. So, in case you are not aware, in the 90s, at the height of the Power Rangers boom created by Saban Entertainment, they also came up with other similarly created shows using footage from Japanese tokusatsu shows and mixing them up with American actors in American footage. One such show was Beetleborgs. And what apparently happened is that at one point, Beetleborgs even managed to get better ratings than Power Rangers. Granted, Power Rangers' own ratings were beginning to diminish, so yeah, that's not really as impressive as it sounds. Big Bad Beetleborgs first aired in September 7, 1996 and ended in March 2, 1998, lasting for 2 seasons and 88 episodes total. One of its key differences to set it apart from Power Rangers was the fact that instead of teenagers with attitude, the heroes were just kids, which no doubt was one reason why the shows might have appealed to some kids. After all, it's one thing to watch older teens fighting evil, but it's something entirely different seeing kids like you at home fighting evil. It has even been said that maybe Beetleborgs was the inspiration to adjusting the Kid Ranger in Power Rangers Turbo. Which brings us to what I will be doing, which is looking at every single one of the 88 episodes, offering a summarized description of each episode's plot, while commenting and poking fun at it along the way. Now, before anything else, let's make one thing clear. I like Beetleborgs as a kid and as an adult. As such, while I'll be pointing out anything that is goofy and stupid, I am doing so from a very loving, affectionate position. I am not here to tear the show a new one for daring to try and one-up Power Rangers or mock it for being less successful in hindsight. I am just trying to provide a fun watch for you guys and offer my own views about the show. This is a biased look at the show, and if you don't agree with my opinions, more power to you. Don't feel obligated to agree with me, and feel free to offer your own point of view in the comment section. But do it politely, please. Times are rough enough without any unnecessary hate being tossed around, okay? Also, as I don't happen to own any of the Beetleborg DVD sets, I am a fan but not really much of a huge collector, these videos will be done without using actual footage and audio from the show, instead relying on still frames which I myself obtained from Netflix. As such, do forgive me if any of the screen grabs aren't the best quality. The show never got remastered to HD as far as I am aware. The lack of footage is also intentional to prevent any copyright claims from Toei or Saban. With that out of the way, let us begin this by taking a look at Season 1, Episode 1 of Big Bad Beetleborgs, Beetle Rock, Part 1. The theme song of the show is catchy and goofy, as you would expect from a 90s kids show, and quickly sums up the whole show's concept in a few lines of singing. But as that is my job, we are not gonna look at the lyrics. Sorry. In my defense, the song is easily found on YouTube, so if you wanna see it, just look it up. The episode opens on this haunted looking old house, Hillhurst Mansion, where these two idiots trying to run out of the place as fast as they can. One of them pauses briefly over having dropped his brick of a cell phone. Man, I feel old now. But the cell phone is instead grabbed by this monstrous hand that steals it underground. Say, I know it's too soon to talk about this, but who exactly did that hand belong to? I mean, none of the monsters we are shown later on looks remotely like this. There's a question to haunt your nightmares, children. The two kids, siblings, named Van and Trip, immediately jump into their waiting limo and tell their butler to step on it, not giving us any straight up clue to what exactly happened to them in there and why exactly they were in there. Or more importantly, why would their assumedly wealthy parents allow the two to go wander an old abandoned house in the first place and leaving their butler outside instead of bringing him along inside? I think those are either terrible parents or parents who know the kind of brats they raise and don't give a damn. Which is also terrible, but more relatable. After an establishing shot telling us this show is set on a town called Charterville, filmed on location at Santa Paula, California, according to the wiki, we quickly meet two of our three protagonists, biking their way up to the hangout of the human cast, Zoom Comics. Ah, so that's where Hunter Zolman worked before he tried to kill Barry Allen. Our three protagonists assemble: Andrew McCormick, otherwise known as Drew, Josephine McCormick, also known as Joe, and Roland Williams, also known as Black Best Friend. The scene is quick to establish their personalities. Drew is the central male of the trio, Roland's family owns the comic shop and is into magic tricks, and Joe is the tomboyish younger sister of Drew. We also quickly meet Nano, Roland's grandma, who is a biker granny and a respected one among the local biker community apparently. Nano is easily one of the coolest grandmas in the 90s, and to use a Power Rangers comparison, is easily the Ernie of the show, being a cool crazy lady who runs the comic shop alongside her son, Roland's dad. Also, why is it that we had this granny biker trope going on in the 90s exactly? Does anybody know? Inside the shop, we meet Heather, who works the register and also likes comics. Which, naturally, means she is Drew's dream girl, which Joe mercilessly mocks him about. We also quickly discover that the kids are fans of the in-universe Beetleborgs comics. After Drew makes a goof of himself by trying to act cool while reading a ballet magazine, because you can't be a 90s boy and be into ballet, naturally, Drew begins to fantasize while reading a comic book what it would be like if he was the Blue Stinger Beetleborg. And this means comic book filter daydream and Heather wearing the most stereotypical princess outfit. Also, I gotta comment on this, but kudos for the comic artist the show crew hired to draw the heroes in the in-universe comic books, because the armor of the heroes always looks good. But some of that art could use improvement. That page showing Blue Stinger punching lacks some oomph and makes his punch look a little bit wimpy. As the dream continues, we quickly see another stylistic choice of the show. Adam West style words on screen representing the sound effects. Naturally, this was done to emphasize the comic book aspect of the show, but it will also be used to conceal the more violent moments in the action scenes. After Drew delivers a kick to the monster, and in the process apparently channels the power of Mick Foley as demonstrated by the Socko here, Princess Heather shows herself smitten with him. My hero!
You like my blue horn, babe? That's not the only thing I got that is blue. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Also, behold, the show predicted the future. Clearly, this shot of Drew riding a horse inspired Power Rangers Wild Force to use horses on the moon. As Drew snaps out of his daydream, we see that he was actually just reading the comic itself? Wait, so that lazy boyish fantasy is an actual comic book story? Wow, was the writer for this issue fired or what? Van and Trip finally make their way into the plot again, Trip bringing in a rose to Heather, who is not at all excited about two dorks hitting on her. Van readily steals candy from the counter, claiming that he doesn't have to pay because his parents own the building where the shop is situated. Trip, despite claiming to have brought the rose, doesn't give it to her. Instead, just lays back and lets Van boast about how he just became chess club president, because that is such boyfriend material. As Drew comes in to buy his comic, Trip snags it and the two make fun of the dorks for liking infantile comic books. Hey, mate, let me tell you something. Kids who boast about being president of the chess club, they ain't on high enough ground to call other dorks for liking comics. This is the 90s, people. Comic books were mainstream. Chess Club was very much nerd territory. Are these really gonna be the bullies on our show? Rich, stupid nerds? Well, gotta say, it is different. Van and Trip proceed to boast how the three dorks would never last an hour inside Hillhurst. Drew takes them on that challenge, daring them all to go into Hillhurst. Roland, being the sensible one, thinks it might not be a good idea, with all the stories of ghosts and monsters in there. Joe, being the biggest pair of balls in the trio, thinks it will be fun. Drew, trying to look like his balls are bigger than his sister's, reassures them that it will be okay. We cut to later at Hillhurst, where we see Van and Trip yucking it up and playing chess against their suffering butler, Dudley, who frankly, given his reactions, has just given up on trying to pretend his chargers are anything but doofuses. Also, I'm not entirely sure that Van did a checkmate there. As our trio arrives, Van and Trip confidently stride forward to begin the fun as the five enter the house. By the way, bonus points for this is not gonna end well face on Dudley. Of course things are not gonna go well. Just look at the scary glowing Photoshop eyes on the windows! Nothing scarier than a low budget, am I right? With the five being inside the house, the door dramatically shuts behind them and Van declares their 1 hour challenge has begun. And then immediately go off in different directions. Say, I know that the whole intent here is for Van and Trip to try to scare the dweebs, but why would the trio accept them not hanging around? I mean, how do you prove that you were not a coward if you are not in plain view of those you are trying to prove to? This challenge makes no sense. Hillhurst quickly proves itself a goofy haunted place, as even these birds on frame rather get the hell out of here, as opposed to remaining unshot for all this nonsense. Can you blame them though? They got put on a haunted house's wall, that would put a damper on anybody's mood. As the two doofuses reveal their intent of actually scaring the other three with a prank they had planned, we spot that big Frankenstein creature casually walking by behind them reading a book. Does the show draw attention to the fact? Nope. Do the boys notice him? Nope. Is it relevant to later? Nope. The trio continues to casually explore the house, which is apparently dark enough to justify the use of flashlights here, but not dark enough that we can't see the characters and the entirety of the room around them. Huh. The idiots hide inside a room to begin their plans and... Boy, who was the soldier that wore that suit of armor there on the right? He's practically kid-sized. Or is this show trying to say that this is actually a present-day Middle-earth and that was Mary's armor from when he fought the Witch King of Angmar? Jo is the first of the trio to get a creepy encounter as she digs into a room full of junk, only to be met by this face only a mom could love, called Mums, who proceeds to unwrap himself and show an admittedly much cooler skeleton-like design that is frankly kinda creepier than his standard appearance. Wonder why they never brought this back. As Jo quickly, and by quickly I mean lightly jogging, dashes out into the hallway screaming and rejoins the rest of the trio, they end up having to hide in a room just as Mums winds up bumping into the big guy here, who we learn is called Frankenbeans. As Frankie's brain is running low on power and he can't recall if he saw any kids, Mums gives him a nice charge. Say, that's another thing we never see Mums do again. Imagine how cool it could be, a skeleton with a shroud shooting lightning bolts that's like right out of Castlevania. As Frankie is fully charged, the kids out themselves by accidentally screaming when Roland sees a spider crawling up his leg. Wow, surrounded by monsters and the spider is what makes you lose your shit? What am I saying? I totally would too. The trio manages to escape into a hidden passage that takes them into the tunnels behind the walls of the mansion. That or the owner really liked his Dungeons & Dragons. Being briefly separated from the others, Drew ends up discovering a spinning bookshelf passage which takes the trio into a new room, with this old organ in place. As Van and Trip run around the house in their little goofy monsters masks, the two accidentally come across the third of the monsters in the house, Count Fangula, who, I'll confess, does look fairly good and scary for a vampire when his fangs are baring, but one slam of the door on his face is enough to show that his teeth are actually dentures. Yikes! How old is Fangula supposed to be? He looks pretty dashing for a grandpa. As the kids hear Von and Trip run like hell out of the house, Joe confidently leans into the organ, satisfied with the easy win. But leaning into the organ causes it to start shooting lightning all around. I tell ya, these old houses have such terrible wiring. But no, these three gulls, the pipettes, come out of the pipes to introduce and welcome us to the figure trapped within the organ for who knows how long. Let's go with the classic. Let's say he's been trapped there for 10,000 years. Yeah? Anyway, this is Flabber, a goofy ghost with an Elvis Presley hairdo and a Jay Leno chin. Joe, not too impressed by the appearance of the phasm, says they should live. Flabber, taking some place from Beetlejuice's notebook on how to charm young ladies, zooms in on them, causing Roland to briefly faint. And wouldn't you? A kid being confronted by a clown ghost with a phallic nose and a chin that could almost defeat Bruce Campbell's own magnificent chin? As the kids all decide maybe they should get out of there, Flabber is quick to point out that as it happens, they are allowed to make a wish to him as thanks for freeing him from the organ. Any kind of wish. And you can just see Drew's eyes lighting up as the offer is put on the table. Strangely enough though, it's Joe who ends up coming up with the perfect wish for them. After all, if this is just some fever dream, why not go all out crazy and ask to be superheroes? So part 1 ends with the kids triumphantly turning to Flabber and asking to be made into Beetleborgs. The ending credits scene, by the way, always shows some goofy antics done by Flabber and the monsters. Episode 1's credits show Flabber apparently pulling quite a spectacle on his organ before just passing out against the keys. As far as an introduction to the show goes, this episode is effective enough. It introduces the main characters, the bullies, the love interest, the cool old gal, the soon-to-be kinda sorta mentor, the less than effective antagonist. There's just one problem though, it doesn't really introduce the heroes, the Beetleborgs. And I don't mean the kids becoming the Beetleborgs, what I mean is that the episode never goes into detail on what the comic book is like. Who are the Beetleborgs? Do they have secret identities? How did they get their powers? Why do they fight? Why exactly the kids like the comic? We're only told that Beetleborgs are heroes and that the kids like them. Frankly, I would have loved if the show dug into the in-universe comic book lore to let us discover the kind of characters that the Beetleborgs actually are. Maybe explain why the trio end up assigning themselves their respective colors. Well, Joe might be easily explained by being that the red one is the only girl in the group or something like that. But white, blue for Drew and green for Roland. Unless it was because blue rhymes with Drew. The acting is fairly decent for most characters, the kind of acting you expect from a comedy in the 90s. And all characters come off as likable, or unlikable in the case of the two rich idiots. The music, as we haven't exactly seen much of it, comes across as angling for that Spielberg-like whimsy, and works for what it is, though the show will get a bit repetitive with it sometimes. When we next return to this show, we'll see our heroes finally become their heroes, and find out that every wish has a downside, and sometimes another upside. I will see you guys then. Bye bye!